AI search is changing SEO. What it means for iGaming growth.
Since we are the last panel, we are going to be talking about SEO, and I hope this is something that everyone likes to discuss about, because unfortunately, SEO is the dark horse in the whole marketing funnel. Anyways, today we want to get started with why we think AI search will actually harm the search landscape in iGaming growth. I'm sure everyone has been looking at AI overviews, Google's AI mode, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity. So the questions that we want to unpack today is, will this AI affect all the iGaming operators, the brands, and the affiliates? So my name is Kevin Jonas. I am the SEO lead for Arena Plus with DigiPlus. And joining me today, we have our three panelists. And let me introduce you with Radoslav Georgiev. So he is an SEO contractor, been in the industry for 8 years, and has worked with iGaming.com, Bitcoin.com, Evolution Gaming, and LiveScore Group. He has also, fun fact for his, he has visited over 30 countries in the world. Next, we have Chris. Chris is our co-founder of Affiliate and Casino Compare on the Philippines. And he specializes in driving acquisitions, retention growth, and revenue for every brand operator agencies around the world. And fun fact, he does collect a lot of art, and he collects Banksy. So whoever is a fan of Banksy, his next exhibition will be in Marrakech, Morocco. And our last speaker is Dean. So Dean is the CTO of Casino Compare with more than 25 years of experience in SEO. So he's worked with Bwin Party, Betfair, Gambling.com, and he is also a big fan of building apps. If anyone wants to download his app, free promotion here. It's called Alcolog, for you to track your alcohol consumption. Perfect to use for the after parties. Yep. And also, if anybody here likes to play golf and want to have their chances against Dean, he has a very good record of having 20 over par every time. So do reach out to him if you want to have a game of golf. Okay. So let's just get started. The first question is to you, Radoslav. So search engines have never really treated iGaming like mainstream industries. How does AI search impact iGaming versus the so-called other white niches?
First of all, thank you for having me, Kevin. It's a pleasure being here. When it comes to the iGaming industry in particular, you can easily go to the Web Archive, for example, and you can check, for example, how Google used to sell the SERP for keywords like casino or casino online, even in the year 2000, and you can compare it to now. Compared to most other niches, you can see that it's pretty much the same. Yes, it did evolve, it did change, it's getting more fancy, better looking, but in the end, it tends to be 7 to 10 blue links, maybe some side links, maybe something on the left or the right. But in the end, because of the limitations of Google, especially with local regulations, and they cannot show in most places any ads, the fact that they don't want to show AI overviews, because if you ask them what is the best no KYC, under 18 crypto casino with no restrictions or no nothing, they're going to generate an answer for you, which can make Google liable in lots of countries for a class action lawsuit. And for the reason that they're not making actively any money from the industry in large part, and because they have the taboo attached to it, as well as the potential reputational damages, Google kind of avoids doing anything new, especially around AI overviews. So my opinion is that actually the old way of doing SEO is still working. AI overviews probably take half to maximum 1 or 2% of the total searches in iGaming niche, for example. And in the end of the day, even stuff like expired age domains, pure spam, exact match domains, or just affiliate websites who've been around for ages, that's still the thing that Google shows, and it doesn't trigger AI overviews.
I see, okay. And Chris and Dean, you have anything to add?
Not overly. I think it was a great response. I think that many of our answers are going to come back to a key point that Radoslav said there, in so much as that really AI SEO is just core SEO that's been around for 15, 20 years. If you don't get the core of it correct, then the whole AI layer on top of that isn't massively different. So nothing to add, just an agreement.
Nice. So with AI SEO coming into place, there is something that will change as well, which is how exactly do we measure if brands are doing this correctly. So to Dean, if users are actually getting all their answers now from these AI answers or AI overviews without even clicking any link to go to your website, how do we define success in our SEO strategy? Like, what is the metrics do we need to do now to show to our bosses that this is working?
Yeah, I think that it is much more difficult to measure success now from a SEO standpoint with the zero-click AI answers. Ultimately, whilst a user may search for a term like what is the best casino in the Philippines, and Google may give an AI answer, traditionally you would try and look at click-through, CTR, that kind of thing. But now the measurement is not necessarily did they directly click through to your site, but were you referenced? Was it your citation of your website? So going back to, what is a trusted casino website in the Philippines? Well, one of the measure of success is ensuring that you are referenced in that LLM AI answer. So the user journey changes. It's more, if you can be referenced as a trusting resource, as a trusting operator website, then the user may not necessarily click in that moment through to a website ready to play, but if you are referenced, that is brand recognition. So maybe in a future search or exact domain that they're going to put in, then you may see a higher direct website visits, whereas you may see less click-throughs from Google. But ultimately, the measure of success, in my opinion, in AI is the references and citations. So you need to be getting the information into the LLMs to ensure that you are referenced and cited.
Okay. And for those who are new or into this SEO AI, if you do want to measure this, are there any specific tools out there in the market for this right now?
Yeah, I mean, so this is a extremely fast-moving industry in terms of everybody's building AI tools, right? So there are a lot of tools. I think for exposure and measuring your exposure into LLMs, traditional SEO tools like Ahrefs, they have tools specifically to see your AI exposure. There's other smaller tools out there. For instance, I use a quick tool for competitor analysis, which is ayima.ai. That's AYIMA.ai. And basically that has preset questions. You just click them, you put in the domain, and it gives a rundown of an analysis on that kind of thing. But there's millions. I mean, there is no one tool that does everything at the moment. And also, I mean, you can prompt Claude code, you can build your own sort of prompts to sort of get the answers that you want. So I wouldn't say that there's a one-size-fits-all, but the tried and tested tools like Ahrefs do now include levels of AI engagement.
Okay.
Hey, Kevin, let's ask a show of hands. Who here uses AI on a daily basis for a personal or professional task? All right, ChatGPT, raise hands. All right, Claude AI, Anthropic. Okay. And who here has an OpenClaw AI that they're training? Only one? All right. So you're ahead. You're ahead, for sure. Kevin, next question.
Okay. So, for you, Chris, the Philippines has its own regulatory reality with parkour, its own style of player behaviors, its own acquisition culture. How has AI's disruption landing here compares with more mature markets?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Kevin. So the Philippines is a bit different um, because acquisition is heavily driven by influencers, communities, um, Facebook live streamers, brand ambassadors. So what we're noticing in the Philippines is that the AI impact is not as strong as other markets. But here too, I think the bigger disruption um, will be in how the players discover and trust the brands. All right. So how the players discover and trust the brands. Right. So what you want to get is credibility before volume. All right. So speaking to the operators here today, it's all about how can you get the LLMs to trust your brand, and that usually comes from organic feedback that you get from your players. And what AI does is it doesn't measure your website, right? It measures your business, right, guys? So that's really the key takeaway that I really wanted to share with everyone here is the business is what counts. The website is a tool that you're using to get that attention. So really, stressing the fact that, well, I would suggest focusing on credibility first, especially if you have a limited budget. If you're a new operator, you don't have much, let's say credibility in the market yet, and you have a set budget per month. Before you scale your visibility, you want to grow your credibility.
Can you expand a little bit on the credibility part? So, like, what sort of examples would you advise the brands to do that will get the credibility that Google is asking for or the AI is looking for?
Yeah, so I mean, operators with strong local brands, they leverage KOL networks, first-party data, and they also, they don't rely solely on Google traffic. That's becoming something of the past right now. So it's really leveraging these different acquisition channels that you have to build that reputation, especially in a market like the Philippines, which is heavily driven by influential people representing your brand and sort of amplifying that strategic message that you're trying to put out.
Okay, that's cool. So, moving on to this, there's also one portion of AI search that will be affecting everyone. And we all know affiliates and operators have always had a different SEO strategy. So to Radoslav, who have experience in both sides, when we see affiliates always shooting their SEO approach with content, operators using their brand as their strategy, and now when it comes to AI search, do you feel like there is a difference between your SEO approach now for both affiliate and a brand operator?
So in general, not only in iGaming, but the thing which is separating news, content, heavy websites such as SEO affiliates and the one separating operators or product websites is that affiliates, they tend to have, big lists of the best whatever service or products out there on the market. They have affiliate links they want to send to their partners and make a commission. AI tools such as Gemini, GPT, and so on, they're basically aggregating lots of data, lots of opinions from users or review websites, and they're coming up with, the best product or service in this category is brand X, brand Y, brand Z, and so on. So basically, the need of affiliates, typical SEO affiliates, drops significantly. And even if they're referenced by any AI tool, that doesn't mean that their affiliate links are there in the result. So basically, in the end, Google can take all of the information from affiliates and content websites. It can present you the top 5 or whatever list for service X, Y, and Z. And if you go and convert to those brands, to those services, the affiliate is not going to get a commission because you never really go to their affiliate links. So AI, from one perspective, is a big threat for the typical SEO affiliation model. Whereas on the other hand, if you're an operator, if Google associates you based on the information they scraped from the affiliates and the news and the PR websites, if they associate you with specific service or niche and market, they can really promote your brand name. So even though you might have increase in your referral traffic from AI tools, big part of your increase in total traffic would be actually from just brand searches from your brand name, because someone is going to see that the best in niche X, Y, or Z is this brand, and they're going to Google that and do a navigational query to that website. However, in the iGaming niche in particular, due to the fact that there's very limited impact from AI overviews, and that's actually mostly on informational searches such as what is baccarat, how do you play poker, and searches like that, which tend to be not a small volume, but they tend to bring less value to affiliates and operators because the intent is informational. In that regard, still, due to the limitations of the AI, I think that the best thing that affiliates, operators, anyone could do is just to diversify approaches. So if your approach used to be only, for example, as an affiliate using exact match domains to hit on specific keywords with a typical top list and 5,000 word content and so on, you should probably diversify and testing parasite SEO, expired domains. Some of you could test brand abuse. I'm not recommending it as the most ethical thing to do within the industry, but it's a very popular tactic within certain type of affiliates. You can also do, I've seen people do optimization on Reddit, people trying to create brand-oriented affiliate websites with specific usability and brand signals over the long term. So that's the thing to do for the affiliates. Operators, they can also diversify a bit their approach with parasite SEO, with optimizing blog, brand protection websites, and so on. The key is just not to be extremely one-dimensional, and by that I mean you have a single SEO approach in a very limited number of keywords and topics in an industry, in a single language, in a single country. This can be a great rocket ship if you hit all of that 10 out of 10 and you get the top positions in the SERPs. But over time, Google tends to, shuffle things a bit. So you might be doing everything correctly, but because you're overexposed to this single point of success or failure, in the mid to long term, you can actually, lose some rankings and be very volatile. And all of your planning for revenues, costs, teams, operations, and so on can be very disturbed because of that.
Okay, thanks so much for that sharing. We want to head on to our last questions for our panelists, to both Chris and Dean. So, with AI shifting the metrics and SEO is now becoming all about visibility across multiple channels, I think with Chris earlier, you mentioned that operators with limited budgets. I just want to give you another chance to tell the audience, operators with limited budgets, where will you start?
So again, I mean, if we're going to stay in the realm of, gaining credibility, and again, my specialization is really the Philippines. I don't really look outside of the Philippines because my business is iGaming centric, working directly with Pacor. We take global trends and local trends and we try to merge them together. But where the Philippines is so unique in its approach of building this credibility is really on, like what I mentioned earlier, it's really leveraging communities, chat groups, Telegram, WhatsApp, Viber, having proper, affiliate acquisition channels like Affiliate and Casino Compare, of course, but again, the key word here for me is, credibility. So getting the right people to speak, and to basically write, give you guys good reviews online, and that is, based on what we've noticed here with Dean and the data. It's really, that's what the LLMs are capturing, right? They're analyzing your business as a whole, right? Not just your website. I sound like a broken record, but I just don't know how to say this in a different way, and I'm sure these two guys will agree here as well, is, you can't just do link building anymore, even though that is the foundation of SEO. In the Philippines, you have to go a step further because if you leverage AI as a strategy, it's not going to work. I was having this conversation with Rado just before we came on, and it made sense to me. AI is not a strategy, right? AI is a multiplier. If you feed it, generic input, it will give you generic content, right? So what you want is you want to combine AI with real world expertise and a human review, because that's the only way that you can really maximize your AI tools. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And if I can just add something very small, the thing about credibility, it's extremely important, because if you don't have that and you have a bad product, bad reputation, doesn't matter how much traffic you drive, because in the end it wouldn't convert. It's going to have very bad user metrics. So in the end, traffic is not solving that problem. Your brand building, your product, your customer service is.
Yeah, I'll take a slightly different take. I agree with everything. But if I had a limited budget and I was kind of... The first thing really is you need to have a solid SEO architecture of your website. Again, that comes back to the same thing we were studying panels talking about 20 years ago. AI needs to be able to crawl your website easily. You need to be having trust. You need to be displaying that front and center. And then ultimately, which touches on what Chris said as well, like at these LLMs, the training data was all based off the US, right? So 5, 10 years ago, 2 years ago, all the training data is from the US. Then the local sort of systems, like their new input signals. So like ChatGPT still pulls like 40% of its reference from Reddit. So if you're a local operator, I'm not saying you have to go and spam Reddit, but you have to be getting out there for the visibilities for the LLMs to be able to pick you up as citation references. So little things like link dev, KOL stuff, like you can't do everything with a small budget, but you can do the basics, you can do the architecture of your website, get that right, ensure LLMs are crawling them, ensure they're not blocked. Like so many websites are blocking so many different LLMs from being able to even crawl them. So you're never going to get cited if the crawler can't even go through your website. And then, yeah, ultimately, even a little bit of local link building. They say link building's dead, but you're getting good, relevant links are good ways to be cited. And yeah, spamming Reddit so that you're part of the 40% pull that the LLMs use. So, yeah.
So to Dean, when you were talking about all these strategies and such, could you say that what you're describing as well is considered the new term of GEO, this is a GEO strategy?
I don't think the terminology really matters that much. I think yes, the answer to your question is yes, but the other side of the coin to that answer is it's all just SEO, repackaged in a different terminology. Essentially, the LLM layer sits slightly above the SEO layer. And I sound like a broken record now, but you have to have the SEO layer correct, because then you can build the LLM layer on top of that, the GEO, the AEO, whatever you want to call it. It's all digital marketing. So, yeah.
It's all spamming Google or AI LLMs with basically your data and over-optimized.
I see.
Trash.
So we just have a little over a minute. I just hope last one is to Dean, if you can answer in 30 seconds. Just for everyone, because when we mentioned there's a lot of AI tools out there that are using to create content, but everything is always the same, or it could sound similar. So I just wanted to know, from all your experience, have you seen AI content working when everyone is going to sound the same?
No, I mean, absolutely. I literally produced an AI content pipeline the other day that wrote out like 15 hubs. Not only that, it then checks Reddit to see if people are talking about that kind of thing, and then posts a reply based on the content from the article, and then a link to the article. All of this to say, not a single time has anybody replied back on Reddit and said, this is AI slop. People are saying, oh, that's a great resource, great reference. As long as you do it right from the start, you need to do a humanizer pass, things like that. AI content can be better than a human writer in certain ways.
Cool. All right. So I think that wraps it all up for today. Thank you so much to our panelists, Chris, Dean, and Radoslav. So with 15 seconds, I'm not sure what I'll do. I'll keep talking for the next 10 seconds right now to fill up the 8 seconds that is left.
7, 6.
I think if anybody wants to talk AI, you got the right people here. You got Rado and Dean. I'm just the guy in the middle, but have a chat with them, and they'll answer all your questions and even deeper. So thank you again, Kevin.
Thank you,
everyone.